we'll never be able to beat the beat the stink of Boris out of this country.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
0345 6060 973. I think we'll need more than a sponge down. Here is Leytonstone. Hello, Stephen.
Hello, mate. Hello, Nick. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my thoughts together because I'm a first-time caller. And
Stephen, shall I put you on hold?
No, that's fine, mate. I'll be all right.
Okay, then.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate you, but I think you need to beat the drum louder because this all does start with Mr. Trump. If you look around the world, you consider places like Hungary and Brazil, because they've followed Trump's example, they're all behaving badly as well.
Yes.
And you'll see that by the followers of Trump, when he started to talk about drinking bleach, you'd swear people thought it was a good. You would have thought it was a good idea.
Yeah. Well, he is a smart person.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
Like a smart person.
But the thing is, you do hear these people online, and they're saying that Boris is a nice man and he's really doing good. The other point I'd like to make is...
You know where that comes from? Those are Russian bots.
Correct.
Yeah, robots.
Affirmative.
Thank you. And the other thing I like to say is I haven't been living in the country for 20 years, and I've come back. And I remember that when I was leaving, there was a petrol strike on, and everybody was moaning at the French because they always do moan at the French.
Because they're French, yeah.
Yeah, because they're French. But the thing was is that the people actually managed to convince the government to change their mind and do a U-turn and lower the price. I'm not saying that we should have poll tax riots, but it makes you wonder why, in America, Trump is now considering running for re-election for the second time when they really should stop him. And in the UK, the people, parties on both sides, they just seem to be letting this bodge run around and do what he likes. I mean, what is going on?
Well, that's an excellent question there, Stephen. Leave it with me, and I'll be asking that from now until the end of time. What is going on, Bodge? He doesn't know. He doesn't know.
I know nothing.
And neither does he. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
0345 6060 973. DC tweets, Bodger told us it would have been wrong to introduce a windfall tax to help struggling families, but it is right to introduce a windfall tax to help flagging poll ratings, just so his Red Wall supporters know where they stand. I believe his Red Wall supporters knew what they were voting for. I've been told that at great volume many times. Oliver tweets, don't you know our Queen has done a great job at waving for 70 years? Crazy socialist. Now, you're calling me a crazy socialist, or you're calling Her Majesty a crazy socialist? Because I think you're a bit off there if it is her that you're directing that criticism about, with, to, and, but. Other words are available. Millions of Britain's households will receive a £400 discount off their energy bills, and a £5 billion tax will be levied on oil and gas giants as Fishy Sunak moved to cover Boris Johnson's huge bottom and attempt to distract us with some shiny coins. Fishy Sunak unveiled emergency measures as part of a £15 billion package to tackle the impact of the Sue Gray report. As well as the universal payment, there was targeted support for the poorest, elderly and the disabled, but mostly it targeted the energy giants who will get all this cash to cover their profiteering price rises. It's all about their money, honey. The £400 in universal support from October replaces an initial plan for a £200 loan, which was not a loan, said ministers, but it actually was a loan. I mean, there's that clip on the internet, I can't remember, was it Tugan hat? One of them hats. You know, it's like one of them hat stands.
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
It wasn't him. But they all sort of, other than him, who stands out like a sore thumb, all the others, they sort of coalesce into one sort of beige blob. One of the beige blob came out and tied himself in knots, trying to tell us that the £200 loan wasn't a loan. He looked up the word loan in a dictionary and he was determined that it did not constitute a loan. But it is actually a loan if you've got to pay it back. Now, what with Bodger up to his eyeballs in guilt and desperately trying to make us move on and not expect him to be a decent human being and admit what he did and go, now Fishy is scrapping the requirement to repay the money, the loan that's not a loan, and acknowledge that high inflation is causing acute distress. In other words, it's break the glass in case of emergency time, and he's doing what the Labour Party have been calling on for months now. Other measures include a one-off £650 payment to more than 8 million low-income households on benefits, and a £300 payment to pensioner households, and a £150 to individuals receiving disability benefits, for which they get no... the word just completely has just flown away. I can see it flying away. They get no approval. It's not the word I'm looking for. No approval. I'll just have to go with that. Otherwise, I'll still be trying to think of that word at the end of this show. They get no approval for that. I mean, after 10 years of austerity and cutting back on services and bleeding the country dry, you get no approval. It's not quite right. For 650 off this and 300 plus for that. Big deal. The package would mean that almost all of the 8 million most vulnerable households would receive at least £1,200 of support, including a £150 council tax rebate, which has already been announced. And then £500 million will be allocated to fund to be administered by councils to help households facing extra hardship. That's councils that have been starved of funds over the last 12 years by this very same Conservative government. But here pops someone to talk numbers at us.
86%, 5 million, and of course over 50%. And what I'm saying is...
Yeah, you're just filling the air with noise and sound, signifying nothing. Numbers.
So obviously
Exactly. And all that security for a £5 billion windfall tax on the fuel companies who are, they won't be facing any hardships. They get away with it, the fuel companies, because it's them that will end up with all this cash. The bills will still come in, and they'll be emboldened in their pricing, which they, with the knowledge that they're essentially being guaranteed that people will be able to pay, because the government's giving them the money to pay their fuel bill. I mean, it's not going to go on comics and sweets, is it? It's going to go on gas and electricity. £5 billion windfall tax on the lot of them, the fuel companies. Just for interest, by the way, BP's profits for the first quarter of this year would totally cover all that industry-wide windfall tax. One company, in 3 months, pays the lot. BP's profits for the first quarter, £5 billion. Not million, billion. That's just BP. Just 3 months. Shell, 7.3 billion. What? 3 months. It's not going to affect them at all, other than guarantee their income. He's not doing us a favour, he's doing them a favour. Surprising, no?
No.
0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. I should remind you, by the way, that I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol, and I think you'll find it delightful.
Oh, right, yeah.
In which Carol and I try to solve people's problems. Now, we would like to solve your problem, but we don't know what it is. So you must tell us. You can email the following address, nickandcarol@global.com, nickandcarol@global.com, and be prepared for total satisfaction.
Yeah.
The podcast is called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol? Ask for it on an internet near you.
Leading Britain's conversation, LBC, with Nick Abbot.
Right, so what are we doing?
We're doing a radio show, Gibbon. Pay attention. Josh texts, at least we're cheering the rest of the world up post-COVID. We've been the laughing stock since imposing sanctions on ourselves through Brexit and are now treating the world to further hilarity with Partygate. Happy days if you're not British, says Josh. You know, the amount of times I've heard people say, oh, God, I just can't stand it anymore. If they win another election, right, that's it, I'm leaving. But you know what? We shouldn't have to leave. It shouldn't even cross our minds to leave. They should leave. Leave us alone, you megalomaniac. Keith tweets, I hope people get into the spirit of the jubilee and order commemorative uncirculated £5 coins costing £10. Well, that just makes sense. And Tim says, I'm still waiting for straight bananas. Well, maybe bent bananas could identify as straight. Problem solved. Leeds. Hello, Mick.
Hi, yeah.
Mick. Yes, Mick.
All right, yeah, I'd just like to make a few points. I'd just like to say that the Ministerial Code of Conduct is not worth the paper it's written on.
No.
And Keir Starmer, as the former Director of Public Prosecutions, knows now that there's an extremely strong case against Boris Johnson for a criminal charge of misconduct in a public office, especially after Sue Gray's report and the fact that he's broken the law as Prime Minister. And he's not doing anything about it. So I think Keir Starmer's playing a political game by keeping Boris in place, which strengthens his case for winning the next election.
I've been saying this for a while, that the left should really stop yelling at Boris Johnson to get out of number 10, because the Conservative Party will, as though painting an old car a different colour, and they'll present themselves as a brand new car. But it's still the same old car, it'll just have a new colour on it.
Exactly. They're as bad as each other. And the issue of this so-called £15 billion pound, get out fund, that's a joke. It should have been 50% of the profits at least. Taxpayers' money is subsidising these profiteering energy companies, and
Correct.
It's completely unacceptable.
That's right. And to boot, they should have also taken some of the money that the banks are making hand over fist because of the interest rate rise. They weren't expecting this money either.
Exactly, and they should actually expand the windfall tax against the supermarkets who are also profiteering on the backs of the public.
Well, I'm not actually sure about the supermarkets profiteering, because they are in. I mean, you can't deny that they are in a price war. I mean, they're all fighting with each other for all of our custom, and they do make a very small amount of profit on each individual item. And there's no doubt that prices of food have gone up worldwide. So I wouldn't put supermarkets in the same bracket, really.
Well, they have gone up, but we're talking over 20-25% on everything now. It's ridiculous.
But it's not everything, though, is it?
Well, it is. If you go into the shops now, if you look at the
I'm in for a big surprise.
Well, look at
no, I know. I was in the supermarket just the other day. I know that some things have gone up, but others have, not really.
Well, in my opinion, I'd say 75% of what we buy now has gone up by over 20%.
Right.
And it's completely unacceptable. We need to control these companies because they're getting out of hand. They're profiteering on the backs of the poor, and the government are letting them get away with it.
Well, I think the poor voted this government in more than any other demographic, and I believe from memory, I've been yelled at about 1,000 times that they knew what they were voting for.
Yeah, they were, and they were bribed with the triple lock, the pensioners, and, that was quite a lot of the Tory party voters.
Not really a bribe, though. I mean, our pension is worse than pretty much any other major economy's pension. We treat our pensioners pretty dismally badly. I mean, just look at the health service, which they are dependent on more than any other age group, and how bad has that been? And the care that is provided by the government and councils, that's been obliterated. Libraries, everything that they would rely on has gone up in smoke. But, every now and again, the government will say, here's a £5. Don't spend it all in the same place.
Exactly. They'll throw a few scraps to them and they'll jump at it and vote for them again.
They will.
It's madness.
Yes. Madness. I couldn't agree more. All right, thanks a lot, Mick. 0345 6060 973. Haldon emails, the worst thing Brexit's done to this country was to pave the way to Boris to become Prime Minister. Total disaster, says Haldon. You're a total disaster, Bodge. Any comments?
I can't comment on that.
He can't comment on that. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. God. He's the funny bloke off the telly, remember? Funny, no?
No.
Not no more. Painful. Neil's emails. Now, is that Niels Lofgren, Niels Fromm, Niels who? He says, the other day, while out for a stroll in Streatham, I nearly got obliterated by a hatchback blasting through a red on one of those temporary one-way traffic light systems and over a raised pedestrian crossing outside a school. Thankfully, due to your excessive warnings, I was on high alert, given the area and the type of car, and I managed to dive out of the way. There you are, you see? You're welcome.
Thank you.
I appreciate you appreciating me. Streatham. Oh, blimey. Every time I have to drive through Streatham, I grip the steering wheel just a little bit tighter.
Warning, warning.
People are crazy in Streatham. I don't know what it is, but when people drive through Streatham, they go berserk. This is advice to everybody in Streatham.
Emergency, everybody to get from street. Emergency, everybody to get from street.
Especially if you see a hatchback coming your way. Anything could happen. Joe says, the bunting strung up in my little town now looks like those tatty prayer flags you find in Woolworths. What's a prayer flag? What's Woolworths? What's he talking about? What's a prayer flag? I'll ask my glamorous assistant. What's a prayer flag?
It's a flag
that you pray to. Yeah, I know. What a shower, eh? Greenford. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Nick. Yeah, good point about the general election being cancelled.
Yes.
I mean, he seems to be going that way, but I think Labour can do it. I mean, I know he got through because Corbyn was in, but the press were putting Corbyn down. I think he was good, you know.
Putting him down. I've never seen a campaign against one individual like it in my life. And the reason specifically for it was because Jeremy Corbyn made the mistake of once saying that he would, if he became Prime Minister, look into the overwhelming ownership of I've got that wrong. The ownership of a large number of newspaper titles by a very small number of people. And at that point, those very same newspaper magnates freaked out and levelled their guns at him and began pounding away on a daily basis for years.
I think Keir Starmer can do it. I think he's formidable enough, don't you think?
Formidable? That's not the first word that comes to mind when I think Keir Starmer.
Oh gosh, you don't think he's good, no?
Well, you said formidable.
He's a formidable opponent to Boris Johnson. I think he can do it. I think he can beat him at the election.
Well, that may be, but I still wouldn't call him formidable.
Oh, okay.
I think he's the antithesis of formidable. I'm going to look up the word formidable in the dictionary for your convenience.
Yeah. I don't know it myself, to be honest. I just coined it. Sorry about that.
I don't think you did. I think you nicked it off somebody else. Formidable. Stop saying that. It's one of those words that you say enough and it doesn't mean anything anymore. Say it again.
Formidable.
Stop saying that. It says inspiring fear or respect through being impressively large. No. That's not him. But he may be the man to beat Bodge, but I think people will be voting less for Keir Starmer and more against his imperial bodgeness. But the polls do look promising for Sir Keir.
Yeah. I mean, I think what it is it's just that the Tories were born to rule, says the sociological books, but
they think that.
Yeah,
because they've been told that their entire life. I believe it's the school what done it. It's the school, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or maybe they were like that before they went to school, and the school just reinforced that feeling of superiority.
Public schools in Oxbridge.
I expect that it was instilled in them the moment they put on those stupid tailcoats.
Yeah. Public schools and Oxbridge.
Yeah, exactly. What kind of a person is Keir Starmer?
He's
Yes?
I think he's a.
Yes. Yes.
Oh
Yes,
God,
yes.
I'm losing it.
What is it?
I think he's a DPP.
DPP. Wait a minute. No, hang on. Don't say another word. DPP. Oh. See, I was going through my mind thinking, what rude words begin with DPP? I thought, why is he making it an acronym? Why is he shortening it? It's probably really, really rude.
Disgusting.
But you mean the Director of Public Prosecutions?
Yeah.
Right. No, I was thinking more of a word beginning with F. Can you think of a word beginning with F? And be careful.
Warning. Fruit.
He's a fruit. No. What kind of a fruit is Sir Keir Starmer?
He's frugal.
Oh, he's frugal, not a fruit.
No.
Right, frugal. Right, I was thinking more of a word that begins with F-O-R-M.
Formidable.
Formidable is the right answer. Would you like to play for the car?
Thank you.
The car is not available. Always read the label. Terms and conditions apply. So sad. Thanks, Paul. You've been an excellent contestant. Now get off my show. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. I think Paul was a formidable contestant. What do you think? Didn't he do well?
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
And I can't stand it.
Yes, hello. I've been waiting for you. Hello.
Hello to Craig in Glasgow. Craig.
Oh, hello. Good evening.
Yes, Craig.
Yes, so I just wanted to make a couple of points. You know, I think it's a bit mental, a bit crazy that we have a government right now that seems to make policies on a whim, that seems to just sort of be reactionary and go, not do it at the time it should be done, and then as soon as Boris runs into a bit of trouble, oh, here's some things, please like us.
Yeah.
That's not a way to govern. Now, people probably should have realised this, because it was clear from the minute Boris took over that his government was going to be a supposed populist government where they would just go whatever way the wind blew. And that's what we've seen there. But they're also an opportunist government, because we see today that they're announcing they're going to rip up the ministry or change the ministerial code, but they're doing it today because they know there's now a 10-day reset because of Her Majesty's Jubilee, which means there won't be any scrutiny being able to put on them in the House of Commons until almost 2 weeks from now, where they might hope that any initial bits of annoyance and anger might just slightly...
We'll have forgotten about it because of some latest outrage.
Yeah, I just find it absolutely mental, and I find it mad that anybody could try and defend that or support that, because I don't care what party you vote for, what your political persuasion is. That is not a government that is ultimately going to do good things for the people of this country.
Yeah, not now, not ever, never. It's never going to happen. He's always going to act in his own best interests, which are almost always going to be diametrically opposed to our own. Shocking.
Well, yeah, it quite simply is, and that is what he does. Now, listen, what I will say is that we all know that, try as hard as Boris might, there always comes a day for every Prime Minister where their time is up, and usually it's the people who decide that. On occasions, it has obviously been politicians in their own party, but I do think in a couple of years' time, when the general election does take place, I think they will, I think they'll suffer. Now, whether they'll, because of the level of a majority they've got, whether that means they'll be completely kicked out of government, I'm not sure. But I do not think for a second that they'll get an overwhelming majority again.
Craig,
and
you haven't heard the small print that they read quickly at the end of adverts for financial products. Future, past performance is not an indicator of future performance. Which By which I mean, don't imagine that things are going to go as they used to.
Very true. Yep.
I mean you're assuming there's going to be another election. I'm not entirely sure.
Well, at some point there has to be one, because the one thing, and this is something that I don't think he would ever get away with. You know, they've tried, don't get me wrong, they've tried over the last few years to try and increase how long they can be in before elections and stuff, the Tories, but the one thing that people in this country just universally agree with is they don't tend to like it when people trifle with their democratic right to have a vote.
I see. I don't think most people in this country are bothered one way or the other. I mean, what was the turnout at the last the local council elections? I bet it was dismal. I bet it was about 30% there or thereabouts.
That's because of a lack of faith, though, in politics altogether. People
come
think,
off it. They're all the same. The amount of times I've heard that, it's just appalling.
Oh, no, I'm not saying they're all the same. What I'm saying is people don't have faith because they're constantly being fed that narrative, not just by the Conservative Party, but by the Conservative media, which unfortunately in this country, in my opinion, makes up far too much of the media. We need media that's more balanced.
80%, something like that, and which is still not enough for many people. The press in this country, I mean, the left-wing press in this country consists of the Mirror and the Guardian, who are read by fewer people than actually write the Mirror and the Guardian. Their audience is tiny. And people are still complaining that the left are running media in this country. I mean, they talk about the BBC. The head of the BBC used to be like a local councillor for the Conservative Party, and the overseer at the BBC is a major donor to the Conservative Party, and that's still not right-wing enough for them.
No, but you know why I think that is? I think one of the things about the BBC that don't like, listen, I have issues with the BBC. I think we all do. There's things that need to be improved. But I think one of the Conservatives' biggest problems with the BBC is the fact that I think is actually the question time programme they do, because it forces them to actually have to sit and listen to people drill them properly. Not other politicians, not media, but actual people. I mean, yesterday I watched, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Robert Buckland defending or supporting the announcements yesterday, despite voting against them last week.
They've all read the script. They all keep repeating the same things over and over again, and there's absolutely no shame whatsoever. It's like they've hung their soul up at the door when they came in and took up the position of minister. It's absolutely incredible. They all say precisely the same things. It's all been drilled into them. Well, don't forget that the Prime Minister got all the big calls right. Don't forget that he got Brexit done. Don't forget the vaccine rollout. You know what they're going to say before they say it.
Well, yes, but I mean, you know, why would they let things like facts get in the way? I mean, I find the Brexit thing laughable. They got Brexit done, did they?
No.
Is Brexit done?
No, it's not.
Because we're still arguing about the Northern Ireland
That's
border.
right. It
will
never get done. They don't want it to be done because it will keep their fans angry and motivated to vote. It's this grievance politics. Oh, if it would all be okay if only the European Union wouldn't be so mean to us. That's going to be there forever. It will never get done because it's not in their interests to get it done. Yeah, Craig, I've got to go, but thanks a lot. 0345 6060 973. Chris says, remember Johnny Rotten saying, ever had the feeling you've been cheated? Just thinking of the Brexiters, says Chris. Poor things. Speaking of the Sex Pistols, I think they should reform to play for the Queen. She'd love it.
Rock and roll!
I'm not sure about that. But they have re-released God Save the Queen. Fascist regime. How's it doing, by the way? How's it doing in the charts?
I'll have a look.
He's going to have a look. Great result. If you gave me £1 million, I would not be able to tell you what is the number one song in the charts these days. I probably wouldn't have heard of the top 10. Is Donny Osmond still number one? Jim says, the government's latest catchphrase, we've had robust. Oh, that's not their catchphrase. He's going through what we've had already. Shall I start again? Jim says, the government's latest catchphrase, ? We've had a robust, way too many times. Every blooming thing was robust. We are going to look at it very robustly. We're going to have a strong and robust response. We've also had the Prime Minister has been very clear. Yes. Yeah. The Prime Minister has been very clear, and very clearly everything he said isn't true. Liar! It doesn't matter whether he's been very clear or not. It's has he been truthful? And Jim says, and now it's nothing is off the table. Yeah. Over and over and over again. Who's coming up with these things? Although Jim says, I think it should be under the table.
Booze.
Yeah, nothing is under the table. They drank it all. I mean, as a politician, you would presumably get into political life to, I don't know. I mean, I was going to say do good things for the public, but I think that ship sailed and sunk. Not no more. It used to be that you used to make your money and then you'd supposedly do your bit to give some back. And I didn't believe it then, and I don't really believe it now. Everybody does the things that are totally self-serving, and that's why people go into politics for the power. The power and meeting American ladies with stripper poles in their living rooms.
Disgusting.
You know, that kind of thing. But there's not even a hint of that anymore. Like doing good work for your constituents, please. Talk about old-fashioned. Of course they don't. But you'd think that some of them had some idea that they were going to do good work, you know, had some notion in the back of their minds that if they became a politician, they'd be able to help people. And the higher they got, the more money they earned, the more power they accrued. And what do they do with it? They just repeat what they've learned by rote. Then email will come around, presumably once a week, with the phrase of the day, which, as Jim points out, used to be robust. Everything that was robust, which was a word that I've never heard anybody use in my entire life until about 6 months ago, when suddenly it was the most used word in the world. And the Prime Minister has been very clear, and now, like Jim says, nothing is off the table. That's right. And they just trot this stuff out and then fill the air with meaningless numbers and figures. 15% of that is £53 billion more than we previously knew that we were going to give you, and that is 82% more than the 33% that we said we were going to give you before. For further details, ask this bloke.
And one... 2,
yes.
11.
No. And you think maybe their hearts sink a little, because it's not really a job for a grown-up, is it? Just trailing around, excusing his imperial bodgeness for every bloomin' thing he does. Trying to find a way to just make it go away. Again and again and again. You'd think their hearts wouldn't be in it. But no, they seem to be fully on board. Aye, aye, Captain. Where are we off to today? Ricky tweets, have you seen what our dear leader, the Tub of Lard, has done today? After being banged to rights by the ministerial code, he's altered the blinking rules so he can get away with more and more, says Ricky. Yes, Ricky, I know. I know, yeah. In other words, it's what would Donald Trump do?
Oh, shut up!
Exactly. Every single thing that this government does can be seen through the prism of what would Donald Trump do. It's always the same. He's just had this Sasugre report, and the first thing he did was to lie about its contents. He did what Donald Trump would do, in fact, what Donald Trump did do, and say that this report completely exonerates me, relying on his fans not reading it. The Russia report with Trump, the Sue Gray report with Bodge. He does exactly the same. The photo IDs to vote, that was Donald Trump. He did that. The next thing they'll do, in order to guarantee winning the next election, is to close voting booths in places where people are likely to vote for another party but the Tories. Anybody want to bet against that? 0345 6060 973. Brian says, Johnson goes jogging with a dog early AM sometimes. After parties, did he just walk around the bodies, the bottles and the vomit? Well, that's a good question. Yeah, when he's up at the crack of dawn to go jogging in that awful attire.
Disgusting.
I mean, really, what does he look like? Early in the morning, after the parties, did he just walk around the bodies, the bottles and the vomit? Good question there, Brian. Did he do the vomit hopscotch? Curious minds are keen to find out. 0345 6060 973. Hey, you know, we take this show and the one on Saturday and we put it out as a podcast. We take the news and the ads out, which means it takes less time to listen to. So you'll use less electricity and it'll cost you less. But you still won't be able to pay your fuel bill unless you move to France.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
I would say he's incompetent, but I don't want to do that because that's not nice.
Thanks, Donny. You're the best. 0345 6060 973. By the way, the podcast that I was talking about just before the break is called Nick Abbot, The Whole Show. These Friday and Saturday night shows, they get put up the internet as a podcast almost the moment they're finished. It's called Nick Abbot, The Whole Show. Ask for it by name on an internet near you. Graham tweets, the Chelsea Flower Show is the perfect setting to see up close the backs of lots of other people standing between you and the exhibits. It's also the best place around to waste your money on massively overpriced food and drink. You'd be a fool to miss it, says Graham. Yeah, it's a no from me. And furthermore... No. No, I mean, Chelsea Flower Show, I think I investigated how much it costs once. And I said, what? No thanks. Not for me. Very expensive to those that can't afford it. Free to those that can. All those famous people, they don't pay a penny. And funny how Her Majesty the Queen gets all the good. Oh, never mind. Oswestry. See, I can say Oswestry, but not good tickets. Oswestry, Yvonne.
Hi, Nick. Yeah, I think the Conservatives are going to get an even bigger majority in the next election. In fact, I predict there'll be no other MPs but Conservative MPs in the House of Parliament. There'll be no Labour MPs, no Liberal MPs, no Scottish nationals. In fact, and what they'll do, they'll engineer it. So, for example, for every Conservative voter, they'll give them a multiplier. And they'll work out the numbers, how much multiplier they need for each constituency. Because they've got a majority, they can do anything they want. It's effectively a dictatorship.
Yes.
So they'll engineer it. And that's what they should do. They'll engineer it. And then they'll work out the numbers, and there'll be nothing but Conservative MPs in the House of Parliament.
I would not be surprised at all. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised at anything anymore.
But yeah, that's what they'll do. They'll engineer it. They'll figure out a way, and they'll trot out the MPs to justify this robust policy.
Oh, God. You said the R word. Time to go. Thanks a lot, Yvonne. 0345 6060 973. I think they're engineering it right now. I mean, that ID rule to vote solves a problem that does not exist. There is no voter fraud in this country. You want to look at fraud? Look at the amount of money that ripped off Fishy Sunak, as in us. Billions and billions and billions of pounds he just doled out like a drunken sailor. And he wanted us to just forget about it. Oh, well, who cares? It's just money. Keith says if Fishy Sunak really wants the money to go to those in the most need, he would use the HMRC to distribute it, wouldn't he? After all, the HMRC has a record of all of our income from work, employment, pension or universal credit, so they would avoid giving money to those who don't need it, says Keith. Well, that's just sensible, Keith. We have no need of sense anymore. Keep up. Staffordshire. Hello, Mel.
Hi, how are you, mate?
Great, mate.
In Royal. I was going to say, I think Keir Starmer wants to get rid of Boris Johnson because Boris Johnson has never lost an election.
Well, he hasn't had many.
Whether he deserves to win one is another matter.
Yeah.
But he's never lost.
Well, you're talking about the London mayoral thing.
Yeah, he won the two mayors, didn't he? And then he won this.
Yeah, he's been a right mayor ever since.
Yeah, well, he was right one as a mayor, but he still won. And as for Keir Starmer, it's like watching paint dry, mate.
Is that what you want from a political leader? Entertainment?
I'd like him to show a bit more life.
Yeah, well, actually...
It's like a mannequin there talking.
A little bit, yeah. I think he's trying to be the opposite of Boris Johnson, but that's not necessarily what people want. I mean, you have to attract our attention. Just wave your arms about a bit. Anything at this point. Do a little dance, I double dare you.
I just can't see him losing. There's something really low work.
Right, well, let me ask you this. When the Americans had their last election, did you think that Donald Trump would lose? Because I didn't.
I actually wasn't sure.
Well, I was pretty sure that he was going to win.
I wasn't sure. I thought he might lose.
I mean, they made so much of an effort, the Republicans, to make sure that he won, up to, but not quite including, a takeover of the entire country. But they did all that. You've got to have an ID to vote, and they shut down polling stations, and they made it a law that you can't give anybody a bottle of water while they're standing in line for 8 hours to vote. They made it as difficult as possible for anybody that was poor to vote, and he still lost.
I made some money out of that and Brexit.
Who did?
Betting. Cause,
you did?
Decent price, Donald Trump was. He was 7-1.
Yeah, but he lost, though.
No, the time before when he won.
Oh, I knew he was going to win the time before.
I had a bet on him on that, and then I had a bet on Brexit. When it looked like we were going to lose that as well.
Right. Well, do you have a feeling about the lottery numbers next week? Anything at all you can give us a hand with?
I won the lottery once.
How much?
250,000.
How many?
250,000.
250,000? What?
It was on the Thunderbolt.
Pounds?
Yeah.
What'd you do with it?
Well, me and my ex were splitting up, so we split it between us.
Oh. You could have kept it secret.
Yeah, I could have. The point is, she was standing behind me when we went to Camelot to get the check.
Okay. Big mistake.
I did turn around and say, I can get mine myself,
Right. So did that windfall ruin your life, as it has done for so many other lottery winners?
No, we were going through a divorce anyway.
Right, so it was pre-ruined for your convenience.
It didn't make much difference.
Your life, right.
And we still speak to each other.
Yeah.
She's remarried now, so...
Right. To anyone nice? No. Awful.
I don't know. I knew him when he was 17. Don't know what he's like as a maybe 60-year-old bloke.
Right. Older, I would think.
Yeah, so...
Not necessarily wiser, just older, yeah.
The only thing, my biggest complaint, as far as the country is concerned, I sometimes feel that I've emigrated and I can't remember doing it.
Yes. I know, you wake up and you read what's gone on lately and think, which country am I in right now?
Yeah, because it seems so different.
It's bizarre, yeah. It's taken him less than 3 years to change this country irrevocably.
Yeah, I used to love the late 50s and the 60s, especially music.
Ah, the music.
Rock and roll!
Yeah, but the 70s were best. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, the 70s weren't as bad either. But
No, the best.
I mean, it's like they're still coming into our country, and they're coming across on the boat.
Who is?
You know that Macron's behind that.
Macron's... Wait a minute. We went from rock and roll to people coming over on a boat. Where did that come from? I have no idea where that came from, Mel. But it was an interesting detour you just took us down there. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. 0345 6060 973. Jack says, my favourite greasy spoon has hoisted a giant Union Jack outside, which guarantees I'll be giving it a swerve for the foreseeable future. It is a bit alarming, isn't it, when you see our national flag, not necessarily the Union Jack, but more the England flag, and something inside you recoils just a little bit. I don't like that happens, but it is, it's I don't know, it's kind of ingrained in us now, which is bad. I mean, there's no way around it. That is a bad feeling to have when you see your own national flag and you think, oh. Devlin tweets, Bodger said that attending a leaving do is one of the essential duties of leadership. The useless blob missed 5 Cobra meetings. That's a good point, Devlin. I forgot about that. Attending a leaving do is one of the essential duties of leadership, he said. Yeah, right. The useless blob missed 5 Cobra meetings. You missed 5 Cobra meetings, you useless blob.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Natalie emails, agree with your comment about the ridiculousness of calling another human Your Majesty in 2022. How about us way down here in New Zealand in the South Pacific, 12,000 miles from London, yet our head of state is the Queen, and one of our 2 national anthems is God Save the Queen. You got 2 national anthems. What's the other one like? She says, hopefully our Aussie cousins will set the example and we'll both become republics ASAP. Well, it does seem a bit weird. All the way down there. Yeah, I don't really care. I don't really care. Not really. I mean, you ain't got to pay for, that whole folderol in New Zealand or in Australia. I mean, you have to pay a lot when one of their majesties deigns to go on holiday there. They'll call it a trip. But, it's for a 10-star free holiday, you'd do a bit of smiling and waving too. Julian says, how can you not like a Prime Minister that sounds like Basil Brush? He's a liberal conservative. That's good, right, says Julian. What effect did Partygate actually have on you? Nothing, I suspect. Can't you go after Trump instead? Boris is ace. And he's got an emoji, which as far as I can see is somebody doing the AC/DC devil horns hand thing with a little finger and the pointing finger is up and the others are down. What's AC/DC got to do with it? How can you not like a Prime Minister that sounds like Basil Brush? Well, that's his act. That's not him. He's a liberal conservative. That's good, right? Well, I don't believe he's anybody that thinks anything other than in his best interest. And what effect did Partygate actually have on you? Well, that's the thing about Partygate. It's not like another scandal. It's not like the expenses scandal. It's not like the access for cash scandal. Because it has directly affected all of us. We all went through it. And almost all of us did what we were told. It's not like the expenses scandal because the money didn't come out of our pockets directly. Nobody knocked on the door and made us give them money. So it's sort of removed from us. We can be annoyed by it, but it doesn't affect us personally and directly. But Partygate did, because we all went through that. 2 years of hell being told what to do by a man who knew that he wasn't going to do any of the things that he was telling us to do. That's why it's important. That's why it will not go away, despite their repeated entreaties for us to move on. 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10, Nick Abbot, LBC. It's just past 12:30, the news headlines with Serena Farrow.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
I think he's portraying a quite stupefying ignorance.
Chris in Nottingham says, Nick, you asked what AC/DC's got to do with it. Well, His Imperial Bodgeness is PM, and we're on the highway to hell.
Rock and roll!
Yes, that is true. By the way, I've mentioned this before, but the there's a concert that AC/DC did in, oh God, now I've forgotten what it's called. It's in Argentina, at River Plate. You'll find it on YouTube. You will never have seen an audience react like that before in your life. It is jaw-dropping, astonishing that 4 or 5 blokes who look terrible, by the way, I mean, on the verge of death, can whip an audience that big into such a frenzy. It's amazing. It really is. AC/DC River Plate, the concert. It's on YouTube. For free, if you can believe that. Sasha emails, my neighbour is organising a street party for the Platinum Jubilee. I am I'm a passive advocate for a republic. Yet, in spite of this, I have agreed to DJ, hey, from the front of our house. Mainly because I love partying and DJing. Do you think spinning God Save the Queen by the Sex Pistols would be inappropriate, says Sasha? Well, it depends where you are, Sasha. Where are you? I think it would be appropriate. I mean, it's old enough now to have acquired the patina of respectability. I mean, people aren't outraged by the Sex Pistols anymore, are they? Let me ask my glamorous assistant. He's 12. I bet he's never heard of the Sex Pistols. Have you heard of the Sex Pistols?
Is he the one with the funny hair?
No. Well, yes, actually. Christine tweets, Boris Johnson will probably go down in history for the most family events during office. Marriage, births, christening, and possibly divorce. Yeah. Where's Carrie, by the way? Adam texts, lessons have already been learned. Change the rules so it's easier to get away with it in the future. How many more times do you think Bodger will be breaking the ministerial code before the next election now? Maybe Zaphod knows. Yes, over to you, Zaphod.
And 1.
No.
2.
No.
6 million.
Yeah, that's probably actually about right. 6 million times he'll break the ministerial code before the next election. 6 million times. Here's a call in Selby. Paul.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Paul.
Nice to speak to you. I was mentioning the AC/DC concert at River Plate in Argentina.
Amazing.
Probably the best audience reaction I've ever seen in my life.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Isn't it? And there's about 250,000 people there. It's just absolutely remarkable. And as you said, the guys on stage, I did wonder if they were actually playing, to be honest. Because they looked like they were going to fall off the perch.
They did, yeah. You wondered if they were going to make it to the end of the concert alive.
Yeah, but they did.
They did.
Yeah, well, there you go. So, yeah, it was good, yeah. I've just been in Tenerife for 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
I tried to pick you up, on the internet-y thing.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of luck, but not much. But it was quite peaceful to actually be in a place where there was actually, I didn't even know television. I actually had to read a book. But anybody that's out there that's thinking of going on a package holiday shortly, you really need to consider that the airlines are it was absolutely appalling.
I know. I was reading about that today. I went through Gatwick to go to Madrid a couple of weeks ago, and it was an absolute breeze. I was pretty much the only person there. It was so easy. And I think I just got a lucky day because it's been miserable ever since.
Well, I went from Doncaster, which is a local one, and I was delayed going out. And then after a few days there, I thought I quite fancy this. So I actually booked into an apartment for another week.
Oh, yeah.
And as it happened, if I'd come back on the day I should have come back on, the flight was completely cancelled for 24 hours.
Can you imagine that? You get packed and you're all ready to go, and you've got a limited period of time. I mean, you can't take, just endless amounts of time off. You've got to get back to go to work or whatever it is, and they cancel your flight.
And do you know what, Nick? It's unbelievable. It's the same in Spain. They haven't got enough staff. Wherever you go, it's like, basically the whole thing with my airline, such as it is, was that they were just so short-staffed. They were cancelling. People waiting in airports for 40 hours.
Right.
I mean, I was pretty lucky, really, because I decided to have another week, so I booked into another apartment and came back by Wizz Air.
Tenerife, you say?
Huh?
Tenerife, you say?
Absolutely beautiful.
So what was the weather like there in Tenerife there, Paul?
It was actually rather warm and rather nice.
Well, thank you, but we don't wish to know that.
I think you do.
All right, thanks a lot, Paul. Yeah, oh, what absolute misery. Can you believe it? I went on holiday with great trepidation, thinking it's going to be a misery, because the papers were absolutely full of these reports about people getting cancelled and having to spend the night in the blooming airport when they wanted to be on the blooming beach. And it happened again today. More than 30,000 EasyJet passengers have now been affected by hundreds of flight cancellations on the eve of the half-term holidays.
Oh, no.
This was following an IT crash that left the holiday plans of Britain's families in the lurch, says the Mail. And in Gatwick and Manchester Airport, too. An IT glitch in the computer system that controls planes. I mean, literally Skynet.
Correct.
And now they're stuck here in interminable delays while trying to get somewhere else. That'll teach you to try and swan off while Her Majesty's Jubilee is taking place. They patriotically attempted to leave during the actual blooming Queen's Jubilee, when any true Brit would be happy to spend a week in the freezing cold and the rain to celebrate Her Most Majestic Majesty's Big Bash. EasyJet cancelled a further 14 flights to and from London Gatwick Airport today, after calling off more than 200 the day before, which means by today I'm still in Friday. It'll continue to be Friday till I go to sleep and wake up the next day. Or today. See, it's very confusing. I just got really lucky, I think, by taking off and not spending the week in duty-free and deciding what book not to buy. I managed to actually get off at within 2 hours of my plane's scheduled leaving time. I mean, it was delayed a bit, but at least I didn't have to spend the night there. Those jetting off from Gatwick, Bristol and Manchester airports have been among the worst hit, travellers describing scenes of chaos, which is not a word you want to hear in association with an airport. Chaos. And that is during and either side the 2 hours when the IT failure hit in Thursday, I guess, which perfectly reflects the way the nation is run. Scenes of chaos, IT failure. It could be a bring-your-own-booze business meeting at number 10 Downing Street. British Airways and EasyJet have both been removing thousands of flights from the schedules due to staff shortages in recent months. The airlines say the vast majority of travellers were given at least a few weeks' notice, which is no great comfort, really. This month, BA announced it will have to cancel 16,000 scheduled flights by the autumn. Cancelled for your convenience.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Nightmare. I mean, I want to go away again. It was just 3 days. There was 2 days and 3 nights, actually. But it was the first holiday I've had in about 7 years. And you get there's a certain addiction comes in. Like when you come back from holiday, the first thing you want to do is go back on holiday, right? Well, I could do with another 2 days away. I mean, particularly with the weather, I mean, it is awful out there. I've really been trying not to turn on the central heating, in order to protect the environment. But it's hard. And I do think, to hell with the money. I don't care if when the bill comes, if I can't afford it then I'll deal with it then. I'm freezing cold now. But just to get away to somewhere warm, wouldn't that be marvellous? But you can't book it because you don't know whether you'll get away or not. There is no certainty anymore. Thanks a lot, Bodge. See what you've done? Reading, Steve.
Hello?
Yes, Steve.
Hey, Nick, firstly, thank you so much for the last 4 years.
Oh.
I was away for a little bit.
Away?
And when I came, yes, away.
What have you done?
Oh, I was very naughty. I acted like a Conservative MP.
Oh, well, that will get you 4 years, yeah.
Well, I got 8 years, but I was out in 4, so not too bad.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you for that. And I just wanted to say that I think you've got to take the entertainment value of Boris into account.
Oh, no.
For the general public.
No.
You've got to. You've got to.
First I was amused, now I'm petrified.
Oh, seriously. I mean, look at the entertainment value between him and old Keir.
Yeah,
I mean,
know. Well, that is true, but...
Yeah. Wait a minute.
I want my entertainment to come from entertainers, not from politicians. I mean, Donald Trump was funny for a while, and then he, his true colours were revealed.
Absolutely. I think the funny thing is when you're taken away from society for 4 years, and the only real link I get to the outside was listening to you. In reality, it's like you've gone to a different country. It's completely different from 4 years ago.
Right. Well, that's absolutely true. Yeah. If you had gone away for whatever reason, then and then re-emerged after 4 years, you'd be blinking into the light, wondering where the hell am I?
It was absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable. And
you can sort of recognise the country, but not really, because it's changed fundamentally.
What really confused me was we had no money, then all of a sudden we had 400 billion. I don't understand. Where are we borrowing this money from? Because that's what confuses me. We say we borrowed the money, but where from? We've just printed it. It's not borrowed. Surely to goodness.
Well, some of it's borrowed and some of it's just magicked out of the thin air. Yeah, like some sort of Harry Potter trick. Good question, Steve. Leave it with me and I'll have a full report on your desk first thing in the morning. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet @LBC. Text 84850.
Come on, we're running late.
Sue texts, does every department have a Sue Gray? Is there any point to her? Is a Sue Gray necessary on a bike? Poor Sue. You know, there's one Tory politician, just before the Sue Gray report came out, he said, I think that's Sue Gray. She's liking the limelight a bit too much. You know, as though to pour derision on her report, just in case it was criticising his imperial bodgeness. Likes the limelight too much. I've only ever seen one picture of Sue Gray, just one. And she looks really worried, like she's being followed. She probably is being followed by acolytes of this bloke.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah. Declan emails, I worked on the AC/DC Black Ice tour that you watched. They picked that venue because in South America they still allow standing. Yeah, don't they ever? It was the most terrifying night of my 30 years in the business. We had no security at all. We couldn't get out quick enough. By the way, I'm the guy that hands Angus his guitars. No way, really. Huh. It is amazing. If you want to be stunned by a crowd, I've never seen anything like it. River Plate AC/DC on YouTube. It's just fantastic from start to finish, except for the very, very end when Angus does a guitar solo that lasts about 10 minutes too long. It just goes on and on and on. And you think, oh, for crying out loud, bring it to a close. But other than that, amazing. It's just extraordinary how much excitement a handful of really old geezers can bring to a massive venue of youngsters. That is the power of music, the power of rock and roll.
Rock and roll!
Bill text, the next election will only be delayed if sufficient polling stations have not been removed and post boxes in Labour supporting areas are still present. They'd better get rid of those Labour supporting areas. Brendan says, Bodger has got Brexit done but has left Northern Ireland with no government in the process. Yeah, smart move there, Bodge. And Johnny says, forget AC/DC. I think Boris will take a leaf out of Abbot's book. His hologram can stand in for PMQs while he goes off partying with his Tory chums. Nobody watches PMQs. I mean, I know that people in the business put great store by it. And who won, and, that was a great put down, and all that sort of nonsense. Nobody really watches it. Nobody cares. Not really. It's about how they act, whether it's in our interests or not. What's the end result of their rule? And, I think that enough time has passed. It's 12 years now? I think that's time to make a decision. So is it yes or is it no?
No, 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 no.
It's 5 no's from me. Sue emails, this is probably a dumb question, but who owns the North Sea? Well, that isn't a dumb question, Sue. There are no stupid questions, Sue. Only stupid people. Well, a bit of the North Sea is owned by Her Majesty the Queen. She owns everything to within, like about 7 miles or something. If you see an offshore wind farm, it's hers. It's all about her money, honey. But as for the rest of it, I think the owns it is a problematic word there. I think you have fishing rights up to, 250 miles? Something like that. I don't really know, Sue. And furthermore, I don't care. So there's that. Vince says, I fear we are heading towards having an awful British form of Talibanism, where criticism of the dear leader is disallowed and allegiance is a pre-requirement. Yeah, or they'll set Priti Patel on you. Ding dong, you imagine opening the door to her. Pat tweets, I've heard Britain being described as a laughingstock after 12 years of the people's government. Oh, God, there's another phrase. I dispute this entirely, says Pat. In fact, the rest of the world looks at us like that bloke at the back of the bus that no one wants to make eye contact with. Yeah, they're not laughing with us or at us openly. They're waiting till later so they can laugh at us. Don't make eye contact with the bloke at the back of the bus. Big mistake, huge.
Warning, warning.
Jane says, have you also seen the tax breaks oil companies have been receiving relating to decommissioning? It's worse than that. We pay for it. I mean, I know they call it a tax break, but what's actually happening is they privatise the profits and socialise the losses. We pay for the losses. They put the rigs up in the North Sea and then they take that hot, delicious oil out and they squirt it up us at vast cost to us, the consumer, and enormous profits to those who are taking it out of the seabed. And when it comes to the dirty part where they have to decommission the oil rigs, because they've taken all the oil that is available, they've actually bled the thing dry, literally and figuratively, and got as much money as they possibly can out of it, and awarded themselves massive bonuses for excellence in being themselves. When it comes to the expensive bit, which is to actually get rid of the oil well, that falls to us. We do that. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Because we wouldn't want to, have them eat into their profits to clean up after themselves. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
Heather says, is the £400 bribe for every household designed to make us forget the 400 scandals of this government? Yeah, £1 per scandal. Correctamundo, Heather. Oh my God, I've got 10 pages of these to read. 10. 10 pages and about 3 minutes in which to do it. So once again, I'll have to start tonight's show at 10 with wiping up the rest of these texts and tweets and emails. How do these people get my number? That's what I want to know. Who is responsible for this? Jane says, no, read that. Heather says, No, read that. Wow, I'm making excellent headway. They haven't replaced this mouse yet, have they? It's the world's noisiest mouse. Martin says, encourage people to use the postal vote. I returned mine a week before the election. I don't have to worry about voting on a particular day, but I do have my say, says Martin. That's a good idea. Or, I mean, if you actually find it difficult to get down to the voting booth, then absolutely, yeah, get your postal vote on. Laura says, what kind of citrus-obsessed nightmare of a person would buy both oranges and satsumas in the same shopping trip? Yeah. Now, that would make absolutely no sense unless you were listening very carefully to what I was explaining about bus drivers some while ago. Good point, though, Laura. What kind of citrus-obsessed OAP is buying oranges and satsumas in the same shopping trip? Very suspicious. Mina says, I finally got the mad bat disease this week. Absolutely floored me. See, here's the important thing about Partygate and Boris Johnson's relationship with the truth.
Liar!
If this monkeypox thing actually becomes a thing, and he stands at a lectern and says, well, because this thing is killing 1 in 100 people that catch it, what we'd like you to do now is all go inside and don't come out. And the rules are that you must work from home, and you can't be within 2 meters of anybody, and no fiddling about.
Disgusting.
None of that's right out. I, Boris Johnson, am instructing you people at home. No one would pay the slightest attention. That's the danger of it. That at some point, we might actually find a use for him, and no one will pay any attention because we know of his relationship with the truth.
Liar!
It's important, if you run a country, to have the trust of the people that you are leading. And does he?
No.
Absolutely. I'll be back at 10 tonight with all the texts and emails that I didn't manage to get around to today. Ian Payne is here at 4 o'clock, but first, I think you'll find this is Clyde Bull.
Thank you very much, Nick. Yes, coming up after the news at 1, a new poll suggests Boris Johnson faces defeat at the next general election, including losing his own seat. Does he need to step down now for the sake of his own party? Rishi Sunak U-turns on the windfall tax. Does that mean he and Boris Johnson can now put Partygate behind them, I wonder? Also, former President Donald Trump has been speaking at an NRA event in Houston. We'll bring you the latest on that, plus the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case. The jury is currently deliberating. We might even get a verdict. Plenty more besides. Do join in. The number to call, 0345 6060 973.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 1 o'clock, the Texas governor insists he was misled about the police response to a school shooting on Tuesday, which saw 19 pupils and 2 teachers killed. Authorities admit it was the wrong decision not to storm the site sooner, after officers waited outside the classroom for more than 45 minutes before confronting the gunman. That's despite children inside begging for help. Greg Abbott says victims' families deserve accurate answers.
The information that I was given turned out in part to be inaccurate, and I'm absolutely livid about that. My expectation is that the law enforcement leaders get to the bottom of every fact.
Boris Johnson is coming under even more pressure from within his own party to resign, following Sue Gray's report into lockdown-breaking parties. The inquiry found a culture of partying and boozing in and around Downing Street. Senior Conservative MP Sir Bob Neill has submitted a letter of no confidence in the Prime Minister.
There was a course of conduct that took place here in number 10 Downing Street. The pattern of behaviour
over a number of months, which clearly breached the rules and which was offensive, I think, to many, many people who were doing the right thing.
The Prime Minister and Chancellor have defended that £21 billion cost of living support package aimed at helping millions of UK households with rising bills. Boris Johnson has acknowledged the measures won't be a fix for everybody, though. He also hasn't ruled out the possibility of further assistance being provided in the autumn budget either. 5 members of a human trafficking gang have been convicted over a conspiracy to force women into prostitution in the southeast of England. 3 of them will spend time in jail. Police say they identified 300 victims altogether. They ran at least 5 brothels, some in residential areas. Human trafficking and slavery lawyer Philippa Southwell says it's a big problem.
These things are really happening within our communities, under our noses, and I think traffickers will continue and individuals will continue to change and adapt their modus operandi as to how they exploit individuals.
Monkeypox cases are continuing to rise in the UK, but we're being told the risk to the public still remains extremely low. 160 infections have been identified in all areas, but the majority are in England. LBC weather, dry and largely sunny in Wales, patchy cloud with sunny spells elsewhere, high of 18. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Serena Farrow.